And then I think I understand I understand that there were some personal circumstances with the vendor, which meant that sometimes he wasn't contactable, which I believe drew the process out. How did you navigate yourself around that, Tommy?
Yeah, so like I say, some of the personal circumstances with the vendor meant that they weren't always contactable, sometimes days and weeks on end. So I think in that case, it is just the case of being a patient property agent, really, understanding the vendor's situation, and just really sort of understanding where they're at and when they can essentially give us feedback. I think it was just important mainly to make sure we're educating them on the matter, because it might seem like a small detail for them, but obviously on the flip side for the buyer, not being able to get vacant possession could be quite a essentially a game changer for the deal.
So how did you manage that process in terms of, you've got a client, you're instructed to sell it, you're under offer, you're in legals, but now you can't get hold of your client. Obviously, they are your client, but you're trying to get a deal done, and you're trying to also do the best job as far as the buyer's concerned. How did you manage that in terms of your communication with the buyer?
I think in that case, it's just being sort of honest and crystal clear when you're speaking to both sides, really. So I think obviously whenever I could speak to the vendor, it was making sure I get a clear representation of what they want to do and how they feel about certain situations, and navigating through sort of negotiate a new price. And obviously on the flip side with the buyer, just staying in constant communication. So it's not, oh, I haven't spoken to the vendor, so I'm not going to speak to the buyer for a week or two. It's keeping them in the loop and obviously doing any sort of proactive works in the background to make sure we're pushing it through for sort of both sides' best interest.
Yeah, I think I totally support that. Like, if you're having challenges with your client due to their personal circumstances, you don't necessarily want to say exactly that to the buyer. I'm having challenges with my client because of their personal circumstances. Because if you do, you might knock their confidence on the ability for you to deliver the deal. But also, you don't want to, you want to be honest. So you have to find the balance there. And as you say, like regular communication with them about what's going on, as opposed to, well, I haven't heard from my client, so there's nothing for me to report back to the buyer. I think that's probably why you were able to get that deal done, by keeping that sort of high level communication with the buyer, giving them the comfort that yes, things might have gone a little bit quiet, but the seller is committed to the deal, which he always was, if I understand. He was always committed to the sale.
Yeah, I think that was one of the main things, just fully understanding the vendor's situation. Even if we can't speak at every stage of the deal, I think it's just a case of being prepared. So if you know the next few steps that are coming up, make sure I'm speaking to the vendor so I know, right, listen, these are the next few steps that we're going to have to deal with. If I can't speak to you in between these times, I need to get a clear understanding of what you would like me to do and how you would like to represent in those situations.